Perfect. So, thank you, and a very good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. Today's masterclass on artificial intelligence in healthcare, hosted by the Sai University School of AI. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Dr. Ajith Abraham, Vice Chancellor and Dean School of AI. For people who have joined earlier, Sir needs no introduction. You already know him. So, for the new joinees, Dr. Abraham is a globally recognized AI scientist, researcher, and has authored more than 1,500 research publications in AI, over 63,000 citations, placing him among the top 0.01% most cited scientists globally in AI and engineering. His research has been supported by grants totaling more than 110 US million dollars, and he has collaborated with leading academicians from institutions such as MIT, Harvard, Cambridge, and Oxford. Most recently, Dr. Abraham, sir, represented India and Sai University at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum in Russia, and even inaugurated by President Vladimir Putin himself. We are truly honored, sir, and a very warm welcome, and over to you.
Thank you, Nilay, for that nice introduction. Am I audible and the screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So first of all, I would like to welcome all our attendees to Sai University, Chennai. We are located very close to Chennai, south of Chennai, about 70 to 80 minutes from the international airport, close to the very beautiful Mahapalipuram Beach, UNESCO Cultural Heritage Center. Today I'm going to talk to you about AI, in particularly generative AI, and its impact in healthcare. What AI is doing in this important domain. And specifically, I'll talk about generative AI, which is a modern development of conventional artificial intelligence. So AI is there, AI will be there, and we are changing, we are seeing a lot of changes in our daily life. The way we are doing business, the way we are doing many things in daily life, even education. And healthcare is a very important domain which AI has been doing wonders, or I would say miracles, especially during the last 15 years or so, specifically during the last 10 years, it has been doing really wonderful things. So healthcare is also one of my interesting research domains. So I've done a lot of research work in AI, and particularly in some of the topics which I'll be covering today. So if you ask me what are some of the, the latest developments in AI impact in healthcare, I would say first is enhanced disease diagnosis and early detection. With modern AI models, you are able to predict whether a disease is coming or whether something will happen in the coming months or years. So AI can predict more than 1,000 plus diseases years before symptoms appear. It is more like you're looking at the sky and tell, that it's going to rain or the weather is going to be good. Similarly, you're looking at an MRI scan or a PET scan and going to tell that something bad is coming probably in 2 years' time. Accelerated drug discovery and development. We have seen how COVID-19 vaccine was developed within a fraction of several months. I would say less than a year. And typically vaccines takes years to roll out for testing, then going to further clinical trials, approvals, and then again coming back again, validation. So it takes 5 to 7 years typically for a vaccine to roll out. So AI has done wonders. Companies like In Silico Medicine have leveraged generative AI especially to develop novel compounds, including a first-in-class drug for example, inflammatory bowel disease. that has even entered clinical trials. So can you imagine the way we are developing, discovering new drugs? Because drugs means we are looking at molecular level design, and using AI, we are able to see how these molecules interact, dock uh, with with the system or with the human body, and we can see through simulations how this is going to work. Instead of testing this in real environment, we can actually see this in a lab environment. AI could be used for personalized patient care, for and devising various treatment plans. Imagine if you have an app and uh, you can set from simple reminders, taking medicines, doing exercises, understanding your patterns, what time you sleep, how many hours you sleep, how many steps you make every day. So based on your activities on an hourly, daily basis, it can actually personalize several things. A very good impact is in medical imaging, which I will illustrate in the coming few minutes. How AI has been doing wonders in the field of medical imaging and diagnostics, streamlining administrative and clinical workflows using generative AI. We can do routine documentation, for example, revenue cycle tasks, etc., saving precious time. I would say physicians or medical doctors, and that is imagine even 10 minutes per patient per day. Imagine the time spent reducing the administrative burdens. So a doctor can simply use speech and rest. Everything will be taken care by AI. So such streamlining, could actually minimize the not only the doctor's overhead but also the overall hospital overhead, etc. Generating synthetic medical data for research. Many a times, diseases like cancers or some neurological diseases, it is very difficult to find good data. So now with generative AI, we can create medical data for research that will help us to create better models. It can also be used for improving population health management. For example, looking at the COVID-19 pandemic, how the pandemic is spreading in a neighborhood, in a village, in a city, in a state, in understanding from a macro level, and understanding how the pandemic is spreading, whether we can do some intervention and devise some precise health control strategies, allowing targeted interventions, and to improve the or contain the spread of the pandemic or any such I would say rapidly spreading diseases. So AI is doing wonders in several domains in healthcare, and today I'll focus only on few domains because I would say first of all lack of time, and I would also like to have more interaction with the attendees. And at Sai University, like we are offering a specialization uh, for our B.Tech AI program uh, to have a masterclass in healthcare. So basically, you will be taught about 6 courses focused on various aspects of healthcare. So why we need AI or any such systems to look at healthcare? Imagine Singapore, a citizen, the life expectancy is 86 years, average life expectancy. If you look at India, our average life expectancy is 67 years. And if you ask me, what is the reason for this big difference? For example, if someone is living in Singapore, he might get to live about 13 plus 6, 19 years more, which is not a small thing, right? So it is all about healthcare, how well we are looking after our citizens and what kind of healthcare we are providing to the citizens and taking care in emergencies, precision treatment plans, strategic interventions, etc., etc. So my talk, I will cover a bit about AI, how the field has, developed to generative AI and various healthcare applications, and finally some challenges. So AI is all about mimicking humans, the way we do things, the way we act, the way we react to some situations. So AI is all about act in a way that previously humans would do or would mimic the way humans act. So like humans, an AI system would interpret the world around them using sensors, various sensors, learn from information, make decisions, and then take appropriate action, often without human intervention. So we are trying to replace human with a piece of software or a machine or some equipment which is designed for that particular purpose. So somehow we need to encode that experience. For example, if you see a plain road and if you see a traffic light which is blinking red, definitely we know that we should not cross the road. And if it is green, then definitely you can cross the road. And if you tell a small child that if the traffic light is red, you should not cross the road. If the traffic light is green, then you can cross the road. It's a simple rule. So AI is more like encoding such simple rules, experiences into a software. So traditionally we call it as learning, or in advanced terms sometimes we call it as machine learning and various other terminologies, how to encode this learning experience into a piece of software. And generative AI is all about generating contents. So based on prompts, you can generate text, you can generate media, you can generate videos, you can generate full-fledged movies, you can generate music. So all you need is some creativity in providing those prompts, and the system will automatically generate the required contents. So the last 8 years, we have seen huge development. Google has developed transformers, large language models, where we are able to understand context and also link these contexts. For example, when you make a conversation, it's a series of subjects, reference to some context. And imagine if we can link these contexts, and transformers are able to do that, and with reasonable, I would say, accuracy. So that whole field, large language models, GPT, pre-trained transformers, GPT-3 onwards, you can imagine GPT-3 was the first most successful application, billions of users in few weeks' time. And now the whole field has changed. From text, it has gone to media, to various other domains. Even multimodal content generation tools are available. So we have seen AI in many areas, from transportation, manufacturing, education, media, customer service, healthcare, legal domain, agriculture. And today, if you ask me which area AI has not touched, it's very difficult to say that answer. AI is everywhere. If you're using a mobile phone, which has Android, means Alexa, or iPhone, which has Siri, basically you're AI consumer. If you have traveled in a Uber car or used Swiggy, again, you're a AI consumer. So in healthcare, what you're trying to do is whether we can somehow understand or find something which a medical doctor might miss, or whether we can predict whether something is coming, or whether we can link several things together. For example, I might have several problems with my body. I might have some pain, I might have some weakness, I might be having fevers in the morning, I might be having headaches, I might be having some specific pain in some parts of the body. And typically, what we do is we see a specific doctor. Sometimes we see a neurologist, sometimes we see a bone specialist, sometimes we see a pulmonologist for some breathing issues. So we specifically see some specialists. But many a times, it's very difficult to link all these things together. So imagine if we have a AI system which can understand all these records and probably link all this and come up with all these symptoms. Looks like the patient has this particular disease, which might have been overlooked by some other specialists, because these specialists usually they look into some specific areas. So that is the whole idea of using artificial intelligence in healthcare in a very simple way. So if you look at an MRI scan, on the left side you are seeing a patient with no Parkinson's disease. On the right side you are seeing an MRI scan of a patient with Parkinson's disease. Literally, for us, for a non-medical doctor, you'll see both are very similar. But if you look at it on the left side, on the right side, you would see some small structural changes, some lesions, some structural changes. And imagine if you can understand these structural changes several years earlier, like small changes. So that is the idea of using AI for I would say understanding medical imaging and for advanced, I would say, predictive diagnostics. Something is coming in the next few months or years. Lung cancer is a major cause for death, and typically it's very difficult to diagnose lung cancer at a very early stage. And imagine if you have robots, small micro robots that can go into the finer details of a lung's tissue and find something is going wrong. You are able to predict that something is happening wrong on the lungs. So, as you might have observed, lung cancer is something which we cannot diagnose in advance because typically it happens at cell level and it is not localized. It can happen in different parts of the lungs, and typically it takes months or over years to form, uh, at a big scale so that it can be diagnosed using our ordinary scans. And imagine if we have a robot that can find these things and also cure such initial happenings. So that can save lives. This is another discovery, AI spotting recurring breast cancers. Yes, you might have observed breast cancer is something very serious, about 7 lakh women every year. And early detection means about 99% or more could be saved without getting into any serious issues. So it is very important to detect such cancers well in advance. So healthcare, I would say modern healthcare is all about prevention than cure. Whether we can detect, such symptoms or any minor symptoms or any minor changes much earlier. And this is a very nice graph showing the increase in the life expectancy during the last, I would say, 350 years. You would see that it is rapidly growing. The the maximum life was only about 35 years. And if you look at 1950, you could see that, depending upon where the people lived, Africa, Asia, Americas, you can see that, like, especially in Africa, even now, I would say the average life expectancy is only about 65, even now. And if you look at Oceania, for example, Australia, New Zealand, highest is about 85, like Asia is again. And you'll see a dip because this is because of the COVID-19. The life expectancy average has come down. So again, we need advanced healthcare to further improve the life expectancy. And generative AI in healthcare market is projected to reach 2.7 billion in this year. That means in 6 months, 2025, and 17 billion US dollars by 2034. And AI solutions is now a mainstream happening in clinical and administrative workflows. So typically we use AI for diagnosis and medical imaging, personalized treatment plans, drug discovery, predictive analytics and early disease detection, virtual health assistants, chatbots, robotic surgery, just like I've illustrated in that video. Telemedicine is another important area. A lot of things happened during the pandemic time. If some of you might have experienced, recollected, some of your relatives or some neighbors getting telemedical care during the pandemic, video conferencing, patient records, remote patient monitoring, mobile health, and using AI, things could be a lot better, from personalized medicine, interactive chatbots. Imagine if you have generative AI, and imagine if you can converse like Siri or Alexa. Imagine how interactive that would be. Treatment plans, drug discovery, medical help. And this is something which we developed about about 20 years ago. This project was done in Spain. So this project was meant for monitoring Alzheimer's patients. So Alzheimer's patients, in hospital, typically, it's very difficult to understand them, take care of them because they don't communicate, and sometimes we don't know what they want to do, and sometimes they do things abruptly, sometimes they don't move. So it is very difficult even for the medical staffs to monitor them, to provide them the best care. So we developed an automated system. So these patients would wear some wearables, and tracking the movements, the system will automatically, like just the nurse's Palm Pilot, and the nurse will get an alert that patient is out of the room, or patient has not come out from the toilet. The patient is in the toilet for several minutes. Probably the nurse should have some special care. So basically, this is to enhance the patient care in the hospital. And like I said earlier, it can reduce the administrative overhead costs. Similarly, medical imaging, AI is being used extensively, from X-rays, from MRIs, ultrasound, endoscopy, PET scans, and various other things. From cardio abnormalities, for example, like predicting is incoming heart attack, musculoskeletal injuries, several neurological diseases, common cancers. So I'm sure all of you are very familiar with X-rays. So CT, computational tomography, is X-rays which are taken in slices. So you can actually have a full view of a particular part of a body in slices. So you could have a better view of tissues and probably even internal organs, slices of that part. So you can understand damages or some issues happening through a CT scan. MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, is an advanced method typically used for understanding brain functions. MRI scan would look something like this. fMRI is functional magnetic resonance imaging. Again, you can see how the brain is functioning in real time, especially related to some activities. So fMRI is very focused and very specialized, used for specific devices, specific diseases. PET scan is an advanced scan. It is very similar to CT scan, but it covers the entire body. So positron emissive tomography is an advanced CT scan where you can virtually track each and every part of the body by having the scan. Similarly, this is DTI scan, a bit more advanced than MRI scan. So it looks into tensor flows, tensor imaging, advanced imaging, where it even understands how even the liquids are flowing within the brain. So it can understand the brain function in a much better way. So imagine all these interesting scans and understanding all these things. For example, if you look at a PET scan, imagine if if some small things are happening. Uh, for example, a spot like this, a doctor can easily miss this, or a radiologist can easily miss this. And what if, for example, a spot like this, probably it is not visible, but if you do some enhancement of this image and try to see, like whether we can see something more in this image, and then we can easily, predict that something is going to come in the coming weeks, months, years, etc. So AI has been heavily used for cancer detection. So I would say with enhanced speed, accuracy, and consistency, specifically used for risk prediction, treatment planning, and specifically deep learning. Deep learning is a methodology in artificial intelligence where we try to understand images, particularly in depth, even at pixel level or a group of pixels, how they make all the difference. So we are able to interpret X-rays, CTs, MRIs, mammograms. So we are able to understand abnormalities even sometimes better than radiologists. Cervical cancer detection, this is a work which we did several years ago, like 3, 4 years ago. We got like 99.78% accuracy. So using AI, method, we are able to segment and understand cervical cancer. So we are able to analyze biopsy slides. Typically, when something happens bad in a particular organ or in a particular part of the body, typically that part is used for analysis, and biopsy slides typically takes several days or weeks for a technician or a doctor to go into these slides and understand this. But imagine if you have AI, you can just use AI to understand whether something is there. And if something is there, then flag that this particular biopsy sample probably needs some immediate investigation or some immediate attention of a medical doctor so that the patient could be given immediate care. For example, in some cases, for example, like blood cancer, leukemia, the patient might live only like few weeks once it is in the advanced stage. So every day or every week is very important for the patient. So basically, we are trying to minimize diagnostic variability and improve the speed as well. And similarly, blood tests identify multiple cancers before symptoms. So many cancers, they leave some markers in the blood, and typically by advanced blood tests, we can actually detect uh, certain things are coming very soon, or certain things exist. Probably, if you're not doing something, we need advanced diagnostics to understand which part is affected. So, and again, AI can help to understand these things very easy. Predicting cancer using electronic health records and genetic data, linking both. So many a times, if we can link the current data with genetic records, we can actually predict a lot of things, not only cancer, but many other diseases as well. And also personalized treatment plans. So there's an MRI scan of a patient with ALS, lateral sclerosis, and by using some enhancement, we can predict 84.4% with 84.4% accuracy that this patient might get ALS in several years advance. Similarly, enhancing MRI scans, we can predict Alzheimer's disease several years in advance that something is coming. Cardiology, we can use AI to detect diseases, risk prediction, and even can predict 6-month mortality. That means you might get a very severe heart attack in a 6 months interval with up to 90% accuracy. So basically using various data, clinical ECGs, imaging, etc. And some of you might be already wearing smartwatches. Basically, it can also provide portable electrocardiograms, which though it might not be accurate, but still you will get some anomalies sometimes. So it can help to intervene early, reduce hospitalizations, improve chronic care. So so basically it can adjust therapy based on real-time patient data using simple wearables like that. Scoliosis detection is not so serious, but again, it is serious. Sometimes you have this kind of slight abnormality in your backbone, and depending upon the angle, from normal, if it is less than 10 degrees, mild means 10 to 25 degrees, moderate 25 to 40, severe means greater than 40 degrees. And imagine if you have an X-ray like this. Again, you can use AI to easily detect the angle, and then you can categorize whether it is severe, moderate, mild, and then if it is severe, then definitely the we can flag that this particular patient needs immediate attention. Similarly, Lyme disease, skin disease, understanding, detecting this using AI, using various deep learning methods. So we can see that DenseNet is able to recognize with 87.9% accuracy. So AI has been widely used for detection of various diseases. This is again for detecting hematological disorders, abnormal white blood cells, abnormal numbers of red blood cells, like sickle cell disease, leukemia. So, like I mentioned earlier, some diseases like leukemia, especially acute leukemia, acute myeloid leukemia, AML, where the patient gets only like few weeks of life because the the cell multiplies, or doubles. You can imagine the doubling, and then the entire blood is filled with unproductive cells, and the patient loses the control in few weeks' time. So using AI to understand whether the blood sample has some issues so that the doctor can intervene quickly so that the patient can be given the best care in the earliest possible time. Typically, radiologists or specialists, they might take weeks to study samples because many a times if you have blood samples, 90% of the patient might not have any serious issues. Only 10% will have some issues. And understanding this 10% earlier. So that's the idea of using AI and, providing that healthcare. A very interesting paper using generative AI, large language model, influence on diagnostic reasoning. So you can see that, doctors without ChatGPT, the accuracy was 74%. Doctors using ChatGPT, 76%. And ChatGPT alone, diagnosis accuracy is 90%, which means you can imagine how our world is going. And this is not it's a joke. It's a study by some doctors from Stanford University, Palo Alto healthcare system, and Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, Harvard Medical School. You can imagine some very nice doctors studying about the impact of generative AI on diagnostic reasoning. So this is again breast cancer, detecting breast cancer, looking at breast cancer uh, through lipid, water, and protein profiles. You'll be able to see the same mammogram in a very different way. So AI can see the same mammogram using 65,000 colors. So you can imagine even a small uh, nodule or kind of, like early things of the cancerous growths in AI in healthcare. But again, broader adoption in underserved areas. Still, I think there are a lot of hopes and there are a lot of, I would say, prospects, especially taking healthcare to underserved areas, villages where doctors are not available, or when the population is more and the number of doctors are less. Integration of AI with genomics, wearables, telemedicine, again, a lot of work needs to be done. So, to conclude, I would say AI is rapidly advancing healthcare across cancer, neurology, cardiology, sports medicine, and like I said, a lot more areas. Benefits, I would say, is early detection, personalized care, operational efficiency, and better outcomes. So, as I have illustrated using some examples. So, it's a very interesting field, AI in healthcare. And if you look at from an application part, so which areas has one of the most impact, the field of AI, generative AI, it is, I would say, number one would be healthcare. A lot of research, a lot of applications, a lot of success stories. So four in every 10 startups in India is in healthcare domain. So that gives you an idea about various innovations that is happening specifically in India. Startup India Mission, AI India Mission, all these, like various initiatives are focused on driving various innovations using AI. And I'm very glad to say that healthcare is doing, a lot of advances through such initiatives. So at Sai University, our B.Tech program in artificial intelligence, where you will study a major in AI, about 50% or more courses in core AI with foundational computer science courses. You'll also have the opportunity to study a minor in healthcare. So you'll be taught 6 different courses on core healthcare areas, like some of the areas which I mentioned in my talk, from robotics to imaging, how to understand images, computer vision. So a lot of interesting areas will be covered in this minor specialization. Besides, if you're not interested in healthcare, there are also other specializations, for example, in agri-tech, in legal tech, media tech, digital psychology, etc.